I never wanted Westgrove House. That's what I keep telling myself as I stare up at its imposing Victorian facade. The late afternoon sun casts long shadows across the overgrown lawn, making the house look like it's wearing a veil of darkness. My name is Eleanor Webb, and 3 weeks ago, I was just a normal 28-year-old graphic designer living in Boston. Then my great-aunt Agatha died, and everything changed. I'd only met her twice, once when I was 7, and again at my father's funeral 5 years ago. She'd been distant, severe, with eyes that seemed to look through you rather than at you. I remember how she'd gripped my wrist at the wake and whispered, "The blood remembers, Eleanor. The blood always remembers." It's quite something, isn't it? The voice startles me, and I turn to find Mr. Blackwood, my great-aunt's solicitor, standing beside me. He's a thin man with papery skin and wire-rimmed glasses. I suppose I still don't understand why she left it to me. We barely knew each other. Mr. Blackwood's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Agatha was very particular about her wishes. The house must remain in the family. You were her only living blood relative. There's something in the way he emphasizes blood that makes my skin crawl. Well, I'll probably just sell it. I say. I can't imagine living here. Mr. Blackwood clears his throat. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Ms. Webb. At least not immediately. I frown. What do you mean? Perhaps we should go inside. There are certain conditions to your inheritance that we need to discuss. The key he hands me is heavy and ornate. It turns with surprising ease in the lock, and the door swings open with a low creak. The interior of Westgrove House is like stepping back in time. Heavy velvet drapes frame tall windows, antique furniture draped in white sheets stands like ghosts in the corners. The air smells of mothballs, old books, and something else I can't quite place. Something organic and vaguely sweet. This way, Mr. Blackwood says, leading me into a sitting room. He removes the sheet from a high-backed leather chair and gestures for me to sit. Ms. Webb, your great-aunt's will contains a rather unusual stipulation. You inherit Westgrove House and her considerable estate, approximately $2 million on one condition. I lean forward. $2 million would solve a lot of problems. What condition? You must live in Westgrove House for 1 full year. You cannot be absent for more than 72 consecutive hours during this time. If you fail to meet this condition, the house and the entire estate will be donated to the Blackwood Historical Society. I blink. The Blackwood? As in your family? He has the decency to look somewhat embarrassed. Yes, my grandfather founded it. But I assure you, I had no influence over Agatha's decision. This is ridiculous, I say, standing up. I can't just abandon my life for a year to live in this mausoleum. The choice is yours, of course, he says, but $2 million is a significant sum. I run a hand through my hair. Is that it? Just live here for a year. Almost. He reaches into his briefcase and pulls out a thick document. There's one other matter somewhat unusual, but Agatha was most insistent. He flips through the pages, then points to a paragraph marked in red. I lean over to read it, and as I do, I feel a chill run down my spine. The clause is simple yet bizarre. The inheritor must never, under any circumstances, remain in the east wing of the house between the hours of midnight and 1 a.m. This condition is non-negotiable and of utmost importance. I look up at Mr. K. Blackwood, waiting for him to crack a smile, to tell me. This is some kind of joke, but his expression remains deadly serious. What happens if I do stay in the east wing after midnight? I ask. The contract doesn't specify consequences, he says. Carefully. Only that the condition is binding and non-negotiable. Did my great-aunt explain why? Mr. Blackwood doesn't smile. Agatha didn't share her reasons with me. I stare at the contract. Part of me wants to walk away to tell Mr. Blackwood. He can have his creepy old house and whatever secrets it holds. But $2 million, I could pay off my student loans, buy a place of my own, maybe even start the design studio I've always dreamed about. And really, how hard could it be to avoid one section of the house for 1 hour each night? Fine, I say, taking the pen he offers. I'll do it. As I sign my name, I can't shake the feeling that I'm making a terrible mistake. That night, I sleep in what was once my great-aunt's bedroom. I leave the bedside lamp on, telling myself it's just so I won't trip if I need to find the bathroom in the night, not because the shadows in the corners seem to move when I'm not looking directly at them. I dream of corridors that stretch and twist, of doors that open onto other doors, and somewhere in the distance, a clock chiming midnight. I wake with a start. My heart pounding. The bedside clock reads 3:17 a.m. The lamp I left on has gone out, but moonlight filters through the gap in the curtains. And there's something else. A sound. A faint, rhythmic creaking like footsteps on old wooden floors. I lie perfectly still, straining to listen. The sound stops, then starts again. Closer now. It's coming from the hallway outside my room. Hello, I call out, my voice embarrassingly thin. No response, just the creaking, stopping just outside my door. I watch, barely breathing, as the door knob turns slowly, almost imperceptibly. Then it stops. A long moment passes, and then the creaking starts again, moving away down the hall. I don't sleep again that night. In the morning, I feel foolish. Old houses make noises. Everyone knows that. Floors settle. Pipes knock, wind finds its way through cracks in the windows. There's nothing supernatural about it. I spend the day exploring the ground floor, opening windows to let in fresh air, removing sheets from furniture, and making notes about what needs to be cleaned or repaired. It's nearly evening by the time I remember the East Wing. I've been unconsciously avoiding it, I realize, as I stand at the entrance to a long hallway that stretches from the main part of the house. A set of double doors carved with an intricate pattern of leaves and vines separates it from where I stand. They're not locked, just closed, as if suggesting a boundary that shouldn't be crossed. But it's only 6 p.m. and the mysterious clause only applies after midnight. There's no harm in taking a look now. I push open the doors, which move smoothly despite their apparent age and weight. The hallway beyond is darker, the windows covered with heavy drapes. I flick a light switch, and antique wall sconces cast a warm yellow glow over faded wallpaper and more shrouded furniture. The East Wing seems to be mostly bedrooms and sitting rooms, all decorated in the same Victorian style as the rest of the house. Nothing stands out as particularly unusual or threatening. So why the midnight restriction? In one room larger than the others, I find what appears to be a study. Bookshelves line the walls filled with leather-bound volumes. A massive desk dominates the center of the room. I'm about to leave when I notice a small leather-bound book tucked between two larger volumes. Unlike the others, this one has no title on its spine. Curious, I pull it out and open it to find handwritten pages in faded ink. A diary. The first entry is dated April 17, 1887. Westgrove is finally complete. After 3 years of construction, I can at last bring Margaret and the children to our new home. The east wing is particularly fine, with views over the garden that will be spectacular once the landscaping is finished. I have set up my study there, where I can work undisturbed. The diary belongs to Jeremiah Westgrove, the original owner of the house and my great-great-great-grandfather. I flip through more entries, most mundane accounts of social calls and family matters. But then a few months later, the tone changes. September 3rd, 1887. The dreams have begun again. I had hoped they would cease once we left England, but it seems they have followed me across the ocean. Last night, I woke at precisely midnight to find myself standing in my study, though I have no recollection of walking there. Margaret insists I sleepwalk, but I know it is more than that. I feel watched in that room, observed by eyes I cannot see. I feel a chill as I read the next entry. Dated a week later. September 10th, 1887. It is no longer just sleepwalking. I hear voices in the study at night. Whispers too faint to make out, but persistent. Margaret does not hear them. Last night, I forced myself to remain awake until midnight, sitting in my study. As the clock struck 12, the temperature in the room dropped so suddenly I could see my breath. And then I saw it. A shadow where no shadow should be, moving independently of any object in the room. I am not mad. There is something in Westgrove House. Something that has followed me from the old country. The entries continue, growing increasingly disturbed. Jeremiah describes phenomena that escalate from shadows and whispers to objects moving on their own, strange smells, and eventually full apparitions. Ghostly figures that appear in the east wing at midnight. The final entry is dated November 1st, 1887. I have made a terrible mistake. The scenes was meant to establish communication to understand what they want from me. But I have opened a door that cannot be closed. They are not just spirits. They are hungry. And I have offered them a feast. Margaret and the children must leave Westgrove immediately. I will stay and find a way to contain what I have unleashed. If I fail, may God have mercy on my soul. The diary ends there. According to family history, Jeremiah Westgrove died in late 1887 of what was described as brain fever. His wife and children never returned to Westgrove, though the house remained in the family, passing eventually to my great-aunt Agatha. I look at my watch. 7:30 p.m. The sun has set and the study is growing darker, the corners filling with shadows that seem deeper than they should be. I suddenly want very much to be out of the east wing. I return the diary to its place on the shelf and hurry back through the double doors, closing them firmly behind me. That night, I dream again of corridors and doors. But this time, at the end of every passage is the study I found in the east wing. In each iteration of the dream, I enter the room to find a figure sitting at the desk, its back to me. I call out and it begins to turn slowly, but I always wake before I can see its face. The next morning, I Drive into the small town nearest to Westgrove House, Millfield. The local library is a small brick building with Millfield Public Library, Easton 1891, carved above its entrance. The librarian, a woman in her 60s with silver hair, looks up from her desk as I enter. "Good morning," she says with a smile. "Haven't seen you around before." "I'm new to the area," I explain. "Just moved into Westgrove House." Her smile falters just for a moment. "Westgrove? You're Agatha Webb's relative then? Her great-niece?" "Yes. Eleanor Webb. I'm Martha Crane. I knew your great-aunt, though not well. She kept to herself mostly. I was hoping to learn more about the house. Do you have any local history books or records I could look at?" Martha hesitates, then rises from her desk. "We have a local history section and some old newspapers on microfiche." I consider mentioning the diary, the strange clause in the will, but something holds me back. "Just general information. The house has been in my family for generations, but I don't know much about its history." She leads me to a small room at the back of the library lined with shelves of leather-bound books and archival boxes. As she's about to leave, she asks, "Are you staying at Westgrove alone?" The question surprises me. "Yes." "Why?" She shakes her head. "No reason. It's just a big house for one person. I spend hours in that small room poring over old town records and newspapers. I find the original plans for Westgrove House filed with the town in 1884. The east wing was part of the original design, though there's nothing in the plans to suggest why it might be off limits after midnight." Then, in the November 5, 1887 edition of the Millfield Gazette, I find a small obituary for Jeremiah Westgrove, who died on November 2nd, just one day after the final entry in his diary. I keep searching and find something more intriguing. In the October 30th, 1887 edition, a small article reads, "Local authorities were called to Westgrove House late last night after reports of unusual disturbances. Neighbors reported hearing unearthly screams and seeing lights moving in the east wing of the house. Mr. Westgrove assured constables that the commotion was merely a scenes gone awry, part of a Halloween entertainment for guests. No charges were filed. A scenes gone awry. Just like Jeremiah mentioned in his final diary entry, I continue searching through later newspapers and find something even more disturbing. In March 1888, for months after Jeremiah's death, the headline reads, "Tragedy at Westgrove House. Caretaker found dead." The article describes how Thomas Collins, hired to maintain the vacant property, was found dead in the East Wing study, his face frozen in an expression of utmost terror. The coroner's official ruling was heart failure, though the article notes that Collins was only 36 and had no history of heart problems. Over the next 50 years, I find 6 more incidents of deaths or disappearances connected to Westgrove House, all involving caretakers or trespassers, all occurring in the East Wing, all happening late at night. The last reported incident was in 1943 when the house passed to my great-aunt Agatha. By the time I leave the library, it's late afternoon. Martha looks up as I pass her desk. "Find what you were looking for?" she asks. "Some of it," I say, then hesitate before adding, "Do you know anything about strange occurrences at Westgrove, deaths or disappearances?" Martha's expression grows serious. "There are stories," she admits. "Most people Around here won't go near Westgrove after dark. What kind of stories? They say the East Wing is haunted. That something was brought into this world that shouldn't have been. Something that wakes at midnight and hungers for human life. But they're just stories, she adds quickly. But the deaths were real, I say. I found the newspaper articles. Martha sighs. Yes, those were real. But old houses have accidents, gas leaks, faulty wiring, people fall. 7 people over 50 years. All in the same part of the house, all at night. She doesn't answer directly. Instead, she asks, did your great-aunt ever say anything about the house? About why she lived there alone all those years? I think about the clause in the will. Not to me. We weren't close. Martha nods. Agatha Webb was a strange woman, but she knew things. People in town respected her, feared her a little. She knew how to handle Westgrove. Handle it? What does that mean? Martha glances at the clock on the wall. It's getting late. You should head back before dark. That night, I make sure to lock the double doors that lead to the East Wing before I go to bed. The key is an old iron thing that turns with a heavy clunk in the lock. I tell myself it's just a precaution, that I don't really believe in ghosts or whatever might lurk in the East Wing at midnight. But I still sleep with the bedside lamp on. I wake at 11:45 p.m. The time glowing red on the digital clock beside my bed. At first, I'm not sure what woke me. Then I hear it. A soft rhythmic tapping like fingernails against wood. It's coming from the double doors that lead to the East Wing. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap. Tap. I lie frozen in bed, my heart hammering in my chest. It's just the wind, I tell myself. Old houses make noises. But as I watch the hands of the clock inch toward midnight, the tapping grows more insistent, more rhythmic. Tap, 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 tap. At 11:55, it stops. The sudden silence is almost worse than the tapping. I strain to listen, holding my breath. Then I hear a new sound, a soft click, like a key turning in a lock. The double doors. I'd lock them. I know I had. But now I hear the creak of hinges, the whisper of wood against carpet. The doors are opening. I should go check. I should grab something heavy to defend myself. There must be an intruder in the house. But I can't move. Can't bring myself to leave the relative safety of my bed. The clock reads 11:58. 1 minute to midnight. I hear footsteps now, slow and deliberate, moving through the main part of the house toward my bedroom. They don't sound like human footsteps. They're too heavy, too measured, as if whatever is walking weighs far more than any person should. 11:59, the footsteps stop outside my door. I stare at the door knob, waiting for it to turn, but nothing happens. Just silence, heavy and expectant. The clock ticks over to 12 eyes. Midnight. And then I hear it. A voice so close it could be right beside my ear, whispering, "Eleanor." I scream, scrambling out of bed and backing against the wall. The room is empty. The door remains closed, but the voice comes again from everywhere and nowhere. "Eleanor, come to the study. We've been waiting for you." The lamp beside my bed flickers, then goes out, plunging the room into darkness, save for the red glow of the clock. 12:01. Something cold brushes against my cheek like fingertips made of ice. I scream again and lunge for the door, yanking it open and running blindly down the hallway. I have to get out, have to escape this house and whatever is in it. But as I reach the main staircase, I stop. Below, in the entrance hall, shadows are moving, swirling like smoke. But darker, more substantial. They're blocking the front door, my escape route. I back away, looking frantically for another way out. The voice whispers again, seeming to come from the very walls around me. Yes, Eleanor, come to us. It's where you belong. Terrified, but seeing no alternative, I run in the opposite direction, away from both the shadows and the east wing. There must be another way out. A back door, a window. Something. I find myself in the kitchen, moonlight streaming through uncurtained windows. There's a door here that leads outside. I rush to it, grabbing the handle and turning. It's locked. I fumble with the deadbolt, my fingers clumsy with fear. Behind me, I hear the whispers growing louder, closer. The shadows are coming. The bolt finally slides back, and I wrench the door open, stumbling out into the cool night air. I don't stop running until I reach my car, fumbling with the keys with shaking hands. The engine starts on the first try, and I speed down the driveway away from Westgrove House. I end up at a small motel on the outskirts of Millfield. In the harsh fluorescent light of the motel room, my fear begins to seem ridiculous. Had I really run from my own house because of some strange noises and tricks of the light? Maybe I'd been dreaming. Or maybe the stress of inheriting a house I never wanted, of uprooting my life, had gotten to me. The voice had seemed so real, calling my name, telling me to come to the study, and the shadows in the entrance hall. Still, I don't go back to Westgrove that night. In the morning, I wake to sunlight streaming through thin curtains. In daylight, my fear seems even more irrational. I need to get a grip. If I'm going to fulfill the conditions of the will and claim my inheritance, I need to find a way to live in Westgrove House. The answer is simple. I just won't go into the east wing between midnight and 1 a.m. Whatever I experienced last night, whatever spooked me, I don't have to face it. I just have to follow the rules. I check out of the motel and drive back to Westgrove, stopping in town to buy some supplies, groceries, cleaning products, and on impulse, a set of new locks for the double doors leading to the east wing. I also pick up some sage bundles from a new age shop on the town square. The owner, a woman with grey dreadlocks and multiple crystal necklaces, gives me a knowing look when I tell her where I live. Westgrove needs more than sage honey, she says, but doesn't elaborate. When I return to the house, everything is exactly as I left it. The kitchen door stands open and I have a vague memory of not pulling it closed in my haste to escape. Inside, the house is quiet, ordinary. Sunlight streams through the windows, dust motes dancing in the beams. Nothing seems threatening or strange. I spend the day keeping busy, cleaning, putting away groceries, changing the locks on the double doors to the east wing. I don't go beyond those doors, though. Not today. That night, I make sure all the windows and doors are locked, the new deadbolt on the east wing door securely fastened. I've bought a small white noise machine that plays the sound of ocean waves, which I set up beside my bed to mask any strange noises the house might make. Despite these precautions, I lie awake for hours, tense and listening. But midnight comes and goes, without incident. No tapping, no whispers, no shadows moving where they shouldn't. Eventually, I drift into an uneasy sleep. The next few days follow a similar pattern. I explore more of the house, though still avoiding the east wing, and begin to make it somewhat livable. I set up my laptop and work remotely on some freelance design projects. I meet a few of the locals in town who regard me with curiosity, but are generally friendly. No one mentions Westgrove's reputation directly, but I catch the looks they exchange when they think I'm not watching. And at night, I lock the east wing doors, turn on my white noise machine, and try to sleep. Sometimes I hear things, creaks and groans that could be the house settling or could be something else. But nothing like that first night happens again. I begin to think maybe it was just my imagination after all. Until the seventh night. I wake suddenly, the white noise. Machine silent. Power outage, I think groggy before noticing that the digital clock still glows. 11:55 p.m. The machine has been turned off, not unplugged. And I can hear something. Music faint but distinct coming from somewhere in the house. It's an old song played on what sounds like a phonograph. The kind with a hand crank and a big brass horn. The melody is familiar, but just out of reach, something classical, mournful. I lie perfectly still, listening. The music is coming from the east wing, specifically from the study. I should ignore it. Lock my bedroom door, put in earplugs, wait for 1 a.m. to pass. That would be the sensible thing to do. Instead, I find myself getting out of bed, drawn by curiosity stronger than fear. The music continues, sometimes fading as if the photograph needs rewinding, then growing stronger again. As I step into the hallway, I notice a faint light coming from beneath the double doors to the east wing. Not electric light, but the warm, flickering glow of candles or a fire. I approach slowly, my bare feet silent on the carpet. The new deadbolt I installed is unlocked, though I know I locked it before going to bed. The key is still in my bedside drawer. I push the door open a crack and peer through. The hallway beyond is lit by candles and wall sconces, their flames perfectly still, as if the air itself is holding its breath. The music is louder now, unmistakably coming from the study at the end of the hall. And there's something else. Voices, multiple voices, engaged in quiet conversation, punctuated occasionally by soft laughter. It sounds like a party. I should close the door, go back to my room, but something compels me forward into the east wing toward the study. The voices grow clearer as I approach, though I still can't make out what they're saying. It sounds like English, but with an older cadence, formal and slightly stilted. The study door is ajar, golden light spilling out into the hallway. I reach it and slowly, carefully peer inside. The room is transformed. Gone are the dusty sheets and faded wallpaper. The study looks new, or rather old, but well maintained, as it might have looked in the late 1800s when it was first built. A fire crackles in the fireplace, casting a warm glow over polished wood and leather-bound books. And the room is full of people, men in formal evening wear, women in long dresses with high collars, all holding glasses of amber liquid that catches the firelight. They're engaged in animated conversation, seemingly unaware of my presence. In the corner, a photograph plays that haunting melody. At the center of it all, standing by the fireplace, is a man I recognize from old photographs I found in the library. Jeremiah Westgrove, my ancestor, the original owner of the house. But that's impossible. He died in 1887, over 130 years ago. As I watch, frozen in disbelief, the clock on the mantel begins to chime midnight. The conversation stops abruptly. As one, every person in the room turns to look at me. Their eyes are wrong. Black, entirely black. No whites, no irises, just bottomless pits of darkness. Jeremiah smiles, revealing teeth that are too sharp, too numerous. Eleanor, he says, his voice the same whisper I heard that first night. You finally joined us. We've been waiting for so long. The other guests, things not people, I realize with growing horror, begin to move toward me. Their movements jerky, unnatural, like puppets with half their strings cut. They're speaking now all at once, a cacophony of whispers. Blood of our blood. The last Westgrove. The doorway must be opened. Midnight is the thinning time. I back away, unable to scream, my throat closed with terror. As I retreat, their forms seem to flicker, sometimes appearing as well-dressed Victorian socialites. Sometimes as something else entirely, gaunt, elongated figures with too many joints, their skin pale and translucent, showing shadows of organs that pulse and writhe beneath. They follow me into the hallway, their movements becoming more fluid, more predatory. I turn and run, hearing them. Behind me, their whispers growing to a roar. I reach the double doors and slam them shut, fumbling with the key I didn't bring. Behind me, something hits the door with tremendous force, making the wood bulge inward. I abandon the idea of locking it and run for the front door instead. But as I reach the main hallway, I skid to a stop. The entrance hall is filled with the same swirling shadows I saw that first night, but now they're taking shape, forming into figures similar to those in the study, reaching for me with hands like twisted branches. I'm trapped. The clock finishes its 12th chime, and the shadows surge forward. In desperation, I run for the stairs, taking them two at a time. Behind me, I hear the double doors to the east wing burst open, the splintering of wood and the rush of cold air. The things from the study pour into the main house, joining with the shadow figures. I reach the second floor and run blindly down the hallway, looking for somewhere to hide. Most of the doors are locked, but one gives way under my hand. A bathroom, small, but with a solid door and an old-fashioned lock that slides into place with a heavy click. I lock myself in just as something slams against the other side, making the door shutter in its frame. Outside, the whispers continue, growing more frantic, more hungry. Open the door, Eleanor. We only want to talk. We've been so lonely. Just until 1 o'clock, then we'll let you go. Promise. Blood of our blood. The door begins to warp, the wood groaning as if under enormous pressure. The lock rattles, then begins to slide back on its own. I grab it, holding it in place with all my strength, but it continues to move. Slowly, inexorably, and then suddenly everything stops. The pressure on the door ceases. The whispers fall silent. I hear a clock somewhere in the house chime once, 1 a.m. I wait, barely, breathing for several minutes. Nothing happens. Finally, I gather my courage and peek through the keyhole. The hallway outside is empty, normal, lit only by the faint glow of a nightlight I'd plugged in earlier. I unlock the door and step out cautiously. The house is silent, except for the usual creaks and settles of an old building. Whatever was trying to get to me is gone, at least for now. I make my way downstairs to check the east wing doors. They're intact, showing no sign of the violence I'd heard. No splintered wood, no broken hinges. The new deadbolt is locked. The key still in my bedside drawer where I left it. Had I dreamed the whole thing? Hallucinated it? I don't think so. The terror was too real, the details too vivid. Something happened at midnight. Something I can't explain. I don't sleep again that night. In the morning, I drive to the library as soon as it opens. Martha looks up in surprise as I rush in. "Eleanor, you look." She stops, perhaps not wanting to tell me how terrible I must look after a sleepless night. "Are you all right?" "I need to know more about Westgrove," I say without preamble. "About what happens there at midnight? About what Jeremiah Westgrove did?" Martha glances around the empty library, then nods. "Come to my office." Her office is a small room behind the circulation desk crammed with books and papers. She closes the door and gestures for me to sit. "You saw something," she says. It's not a question. I nod, too exhausted to lie. "In the east wing at midnight. People, things that looked like people from the 1800s, and Jeremiah Westgrove was there." Martha sigh heavily. I was afraid of this. The cycle is beginning again. What cycle? What's happening in that house? How much do you know about your family history? About why Jeremiah Westgrove came to America? I shake my head. Not much. Just that he was a businessman from England who built Westgrove in the 1880s. Martha opens a drawer in her desk and pulls out an old leather-bound book. This isn't in the library collection. It's been passed down through my family for generations. My great-great-grandfather was Thomas Collins. The name strikes a chord. The caretaker who died in the house. Yes. Before he took the job at Westgrove, he was Jeremiah's valet, brought over from England. He knew things about the family that never made it into public records. She opens the book, revealing pages of handwritten text. According to this, the Westgroves weren't just wealthy industrialists in England. They were members of a secret society. Occultists who believed they could communicate with entities from elsewhere. Not spirits of the dead, but something older, something that exists in the spaces between worlds. I think of the diary I found of Jeremiah's mention of a saint gone wrong. What kind of entities? The kind that hunger for our world, for our reality, the kind that need a doorway to enter. She turns a page revealing a detailed drawing of a circular symbol filled with strange angular writing. This is the seal of opening. Jeremiah Westgrove came to America not just to expand his business interests, but to escape scandal in England. Apparently, one of their rituals went wrong, resulting in several deaths. But he couldn't escape what he'd started. The entities followed him, growing stronger as they found ways to influence our world. The east wing of Westgrove House, particularly the study, was built according to specific measurements, creating a kind of thin spot between worlds. And at midnight, it becomes thinner, I say, remembering the whispers. Midnight is the thinning time. Martha nods. Between midnight and 1 o'clock a.m., the barrier is at its weakest. That's when they can manifest most strongly, when they can affect our world. Directly. But what do they want? They kept talking about blood, about me being the last Westgrove. She gives me a grave look. According to my ancestors' writings, these entities can fully enter our world under specific conditions. They need a doorway, the East Wing study, at midnight. And they need a gatekeeper, someone of Westgrove blood, who willingly invites them through. I would never, not willingly perhaps, but they are persuasive, deceptive. They can appear as loved ones, offer things you desire most. And they've been trying for generations, growing stronger each time. Learning more about how to manipulate humans. I think of how they appeared as Victorian socialites. How they tried to lure me into the study. What happens if they succeed, if they fully enter our world? Martha's expression is grim. Thomas believed they would consume everything, starting with Millfield and spreading outward. They feed on life, on consciousness. They would leave nothing but empty husks behind. I sit back, trying to process this information. It sounds insane, like something from a horror movie or a pulp novel. But after what I've seen, I can't dismiss it. So, what do I do? I'm contractual. Obligated to live in that house for a year. Your great-aunt Agatha found a way to contain them. Martha says she was a student of the occult herself, but she used her knowledge defensively. There are protections in the house, symbols carved into door frames, special mixtures in the paint, that sort of thing. They kept the entities confined to the East Wing during her lifetime. But now they're getting out, I say, remembering the shadows in the entrance hall. Yes, the protections are failing without someone to maintain them. Agatha must have known this would happen when she died. So, she left the house to me with that clause about staying out of the East Wing at midnight. Martha nods. She was trying to protect you while ensuring someone of Westgrove blood remained in the house. The entities are bound to the bloodline that summoned them. As long as a Westgrove lives in the house but denies them access, they remain trapped in a kind of limbo, unable to fully enter our world. But if I leave, they grow stronger, more able to affect the physical world. Eventually, they might be able to lure someone else into the East Wing at midnight. Someone they can manipulate into inviting them through. So, I'm stuck there, keeping watch over monsters that want to use me as a gateway. Unless you can find a way to banish them permanently. I look up sharply. Is that possible? Martha hesitates. Thomas believes so. He wrote about a counter ritual, a way to seal the doorway forever. But it would have to be performed in the study at midnight by someone of Westgrove blood where I'm specifically not supposed to be. I say, with grim humor. Yes. And it would be dangerous. The entities would do everything in their power to stop you, to corrupt the ritual and use it to their advantage instead. She closes the book and hands it to me. Take this. Study it. There's more information about the counter ritual, about how Agatha contained them for so long. It might help. I accept the book, feeling its weight, both physical and metaphorical. Thank you. As I stand to leave, Martha catches my arm. Be careful, Eleanor. These things, they're patient. They've waited over a century. They'll say anything, show you anything to get what they want. That night, I read Thomas Collins' book from cover to cover. It contains detailed accounts of the phenomena at Westgrove House, sketches of the strange symbols used in both the original ritual and the proposed counter-ritual, and personal observations about the nature of the entities. According to Thomas, they aren't evil in the human sense of the word. They're simply alien, operating according to rules and desires that have nothing to do with human morality. They want entry to our world, the way a starving person wants food, with single-minded desperation. The counter-ritual involves a complex sequence of symbols drawn in specific materials, incantations in a language I don't recognize, and most disturbing, a blood sacrifice from the Westgrove descendant. Not a fatal amount, but enough to seal the symbols and close the doorway permanently. I stay out of the East Wing entirely that day, and as midnight approaches, I lock myself in my bedroom, placing Thomas's book and a variety of protective items, salt, iron, nails, and symbols drawn from the book around the perimeter of the room. Nothing happens at midnight. No whispers, no music, no shadowy figures trying to break down my door. I should be relieved, but instead, I'm uneasy. Are they regrouping, planning something worse? Or is the protection from Thomas's book actually working? The next day, I begin preparing for the counter ritual. According to the book, it needs to be performed on a night when the barrier between worlds is particularly thin. Traditionally, Samhain Halloween, the winter solstice, or the spring equinox. The spring equinox is just 5 days away. I gather the materials listed in the book: chalk, candles, and various other esoteric items. I spend the days leading up to the equinox studying the ritual, memorizing the incantations, and trying to prepare myself mentally for what I'll have to do. Enter the East Wing at midnight, the very thing I've been warned against. Confront whatever waits for me there. Complete a complex ritual while entities that want to use me as a gateway try to stop me and bleed. The night before the equinox, I have a dream. I'm in the East Wing study, but it's different. Warm, inviting, filled with soft light. My father is there, sitting in one of the leather chairs by the fireplace. He looks exactly as I remember him. Kind eyes, salt and pepper. Hair, the smile that always made me feel safe. Ellie, he says, using the nickname only he ever called me. I've missed you. I know it's a dream. No, it can't really be him. But I still feel a rush of emotion. Dad, come sit with me, he says, patting the chair beside him. We have so much to catch up on. I hesitate, remembering Martha's warning. They can appear as loved ones. Offer things you desire most. You're not my father, I say, my voice breaking. My father is dead. His expression doesn't change that. Same warm smile. Of course I am, Ellie. I've been here all along, waiting for you to find me. No, whatever you are, you're using his face, his voice. But you're not him. The thing wearing my father's face sighs, and for a moment, its features ripple, showing something else beneath, something angular and wrong. Then the illusion solidifies again. We can give him back to you, it says in my father's voice. We can give you back everyone you've lost. All you have to do is open the door for us. I wake with tears on my cheeks, the dream still vivid in my mind. They're getting more sophisticated in their tactics, using my deepest desires against me. It only strengthens my resolve to end this once and for all. The day of the equinox dawned clear and cool. I spend the morning and afternoon going over the ritual one last time, making sure I have everything prepared. As evening falls, I force myself to eat something, knowing I'll need my strength later. Then I wait. At 11:30 p.m., I gather my materials: chalk, candles, a small silver knife for the blood component of the ritual, and Thomas's book with the ritual instructions, and approach the east wing. Doors. They're unlocked again, despite the new deadbolt I installed. I take a deep breath and step through. The east wing is quiet, normal. No flickering candle light or ghostly music, but the air feels heavy, charged, as if a thunderstorm is approaching. I make my way to the study, half expecting to be accosted by shadow figures at any moment. But I reach the study door without incident. It swings open at my touch. The room is empty, dusty, exactly as it was when I first explored it. No fire in the fireplace. No Victorian party guests with black eyes, just an ordinary, if antique study. I check my watch. 11:45, 15 minutes until midnight. I begin setting up for the ritual, arranging the candles in the specific pattern detailed in Thomas's book. Drawing the complex symbols on the floor with chalk, my hand shakes slightly, but the lines come out clear enough. At 11:55, I finish the preparations. Now I just need to wait for midnight, when the barrier is thinnest, to begin the incantations and complete the blood component of the ritual. The minutes tick by with excruciating slowness. At 11:59, the temperature in the room drops suddenly, my breath fogging in the air. The candles flicker, but don't go out. Eleanor. The voice comes from behind me. I turn to find my father standing there just as he appeared in my dream. But this time I'm awake. This time it's really happening. You're not him, I say firmly, though my voice wavers. You can't trick me. My father's face smiles, but it's wrong. Too wide. The eyes too dark. We don't need to trick you, Eleanor. We just need to delay you. The clock begins to chime midnight, and suddenly the room is filled with figures. The Victorian party guests from before, but also others. People in clothing from different eras, all with those same black empty eyes. They form a circle around me, blocking me from the ritual set up on the floor. You cannot stop what was set in motion generations ago, says the thing wearing my father's face. Jeremiah Westgrove opened the door. Only a Westgrove can fully open it, but any blood will sustain us until then. The figures move closer, their forms flickering between human appearance and something else. Elongated limbs, too. Many joints, skin that seems to ripple with something moving underneath. I clutch the silver knife, the final component of the ritual. I need to complete the circle with my blood. Speak the incantation, but I can't reach the chalk circle on the floor. The clock finishes its 12th chime. Midnight. The barrier is at its thinnest. The figures surge forward, reaching for me with hands that are no longer entirely human. In desperation, I slash the knife across my palm, feeling a sharp sting as blood wells up. Blood of the bloodline. I shout, remembering the words from the ritual. Blood of the summoner freely given to close what was opened. I fling my hand outward, spraying my blood in an arc that passes through several of the figures. Where the blood touches them, they shriek, an inhuman sound that makes my ears ring. Their forms waver, becoming less substantial. Taking advantage of their momentary distraction, I dive through a gap in their circle, landing beside the chalk symbols I'd drawn. I press my bleeding Hand to the center of the circle and begin to recite the incantation from Thomas's book. The strange words feeling awkward on my tongue. The figures recover and rush toward me, but something holds them back. An invisible barrier formed by the chalk symbols and my blood. They press against it, their forms distorting, stretching as they try to break through. The one wearing my father's face snarls. All pretense of humanity gone. Its features melting into something insectile and horrifying. You will fail, it hisses. The door wants to open. Reality wants to be consumed. It is the natural order. I continue the incantation, my voice growing stronger as I near the end. The candles flare. Suddenly, their flames shooting upward almost to the ceiling. The air in the room begins to swirl, forming a vortex. Centered on the ritual circle. The entities shriek and wail, their forms becoming less substantial, more shadow than substance. I speak the final words of the ritual, and the vortex intensifies, pulling at the shadow. Figures. They fight against it, clawing at the air, at the invisible barrier, at each other. The one that had taken my father's form lunges at me one last time. Its face now completely inhuman. A mass of writhing appendages where features should be. We will return, it promises, its voice a cacophony of overlapping whispers. The blood remembers. The blood always remembers. The vortex reaches its peak, and with a sound like the tearing of fabric, the entities are pulled into it. Their forms stretching, thinning, and finally disappearing altogether. The candles go out all at once, plunging the room into darkness. In the sudden silence, I can hear my own ragged breathing, the pounding of my heart. Then slowly, the temperature in the room begins to rise, returning to normal. I fumble for my phone, turning on the flashlight. The chalk symbols on the floor are gone as if they were never there. The candles remain, but they're burned down to stubs. And on the wall behind where the vortex had been, there's a new mark. A simple spiral. Burned into the wood, still smoking slightly. I check my watch. 10:01 a.m. The ritual took exactly 1 hour. Is it over? Did it work? I wrap my bleeding hand in a handkerchief and make my way out of the study, half expecting to encounter more shadow figures in the hallway. But the east wing is quiet, normal, just an old part of an old house. In the days that follow, I watch and wait for signs that the entities have returned or that the ritual failed in some way. But midnight comes and goes without incident. No whispers, no shadows, no feeling of being watched. Slowly, cautiously, I begin to believe that it worked, that I've closed the doorway Jeremiah Westgrove opened all those years ago. I continue to live in Westgrove House, fulfilling the conditions of my inheritance. I even begin to renovate, bringing the old place into the 21st century while preserving its historical character. The east wing no longer feels threatening. Just another part of the house. I convert the study into a home office, covering the spiral burn mark with a large painting. Life settles into a new normal. I make friends in town, establish a routine, even start dating a local architect who helps with the renovation plans. The year passes more quickly than I expected, and soon I find myself sitting across from Mr. Blackwood again, this time in his office in town. "Congratulations, Ms. Webb," he says, sliding a document across the desk to me. "You fulfilled all the conditions of your great-aunt's will. Westgrove House and the entirety of the estate are now legally yours, free and clear." I sign where indicated, feeling a strange mix of emotions. Relief. Certainly, $2 million and a now renovated historic house are nothing to scoff at, but also a sense of responsibility, of connection to the past and to the house itself. There is one more thing, Mr. Blackwood says, reaching into his desk drawer. He pulls out an envelope yellowed with age, with my name written on it in spidery handwriting. Your great-aunt left instructions that this be given to you upon completion of the year's residence. I take the envelope, feeling its weight. What is it? I don't know. I was merely instructed to deliver it. I open it. After I leave his office, sitting in my car in the parking lot. Inside is a single sheet of paper, the writing faded, but legible. Eleanor, if you are reading this, you have survived the year at Westgrove House. I hope you have also discovered what lurks there and found a way to end it. But know this, the entities are patient and they are cunning. What you have closed, another may open. The Westgrove blood will always be a key to that door. Guard it well. The house is now yours, as is the responsibility that comes with it. Do not abandon it. Do not sell it. Keep it in the family and keep the family safe from what waits just beyond the veil. The blood remembers Eleanor. It always remembers. Agatha Webb. I fold the letter fully and put it back in the envelope. As I drive back to Westgrove House, my house now truly and fully, I think about Agatha's warning. Had she tried the counter-ritual herself and failed, or had she only managed to contain the entities, not banish them? I may never know, but I do know that I feel a connection to Westgrove now, a responsibility that goes beyond legal ownership. Whatever happened in that study on the night of the equinox, whatever I faced and seemingly defeated, I can't be sure it's gone forever. And if it isn't, if it returns someday, I need to be ready. As I pull up to the house, I notice something I've somehow overlooked in all my months living here. A small design carved into the stone above the front door. A spiral identical to the one burned into the study wall. After the ritual, I unlock the front door and step inside, feeling the house settle around me, familiar now, almost welcoming. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the entrance hall. But they're just ordinary shadows, nothing more. Night will fall soon, and then midnight will come, as it always does. But tonight, like every night since the ritual, I'll sleep peacefully, untroubled by whispers or visitations. For now, at least, the door remains closed. And I, Eleanor Webb, last of the Westgrove line, will make sure it stays that way. The blood remembers. It always remembers. And so will I.